Good morning and welcome back to Miniature Monday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we are going to be starting a new series here on the channel. Doesn't mean I'm not going to be continuing with other videos, other live streams. A lot of the content still going to continue as it has been here on Gaming with ADHD. But this is a project that I've been kind of interested in for a while, and basically, we're going to start working on some Warhammer 40,000 Combat Patrol. Now, this is going to be a little bit different. If you aren't familiar, there is a company called Hachette, I believe that's how you pronounce it, that does a magazine subscription model where instead of, say, going down to the Warhammer store and buying a large combat patrol box or army unit box, basically it's a subscription service where they send you essentially a few magazines each month, but they also include Warhammer models and paints and tools and things like that. And I'm kind of curious to see how this will work for someone like me. I struggle sitting down and just reading through rule books, and I'm wondering if breaking this all down into parts will help someone like me, kind of ease myself back into the hobby. I have not played Warhammer regularly in many years, and so I'm looking to try something new. Also be able to play with my kids, my grandson, things like that. So basically, I want to bring you along on this journey as I, kind of reintroduce myself to the Warhammer side of the miniature gaming hobby. Now, before we start digging into this specifically, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week, do a couple of live streams, talking about all sorts of gaming content, and I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. In addition, I'll have links over to the Hachette website if you wish to subscribe yourself, but also some affiliate links that do help the channel if you choose to use them. So, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at this. All right, so here we have the actual Combat Patrol website for the particular subscription. I did want to take a few minutes to look at this and just kind of explain why I decided to jump on this route as opposed to going the normal collection route. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the United States is about 6 months behind the UK on this. The UK gets it first. That's where Hachette is based, so obviously kind of makes a little bit of sense. But with time, or let me rephrase that. You can already go and you can find people who are talking about what they think, of the magazine in a general sense. They've done cost breakdowns. I'll kind of touch on that a little bit here, but mostly this is going to kind of focus on me and my decision making as far as wanting to get into this particular project. So to start off, basically they're going to kind of bait you in a little bit, give you something really cool, really cheap, up front to hopefully spark you on your first purchase. For me, it ended up being about $15 to get the first shipment, and then looking at the numbers, it's going to be about $80 for each additional shipment. Now, the first two issues do come together. And in this case, you are going to get a Space Marine captain in Terminator armor and a Winged Tyrannid Prime. I had to remember that. And then you also get 3 Von Ryan Leapers. And we'll look at those a little bit closer here in a minute. And that's for $15. Now, just on the cost alone, like to go and buy those normally, if you wanted to taste this, that's almost a no-brainer. I also, you'll see that it says $6.99. Basically, they charge you $2.50 per shipping, which still doesn't add up there. But I also opted to do the premium subscription, which sends you some extra stuff, and we'll look at that here in a minute. Now, this is going to run over 90 issues of the magazine. So the way that they do it, some are going to be a little bit better, some are going to be a lot better than others. Some are going to be, for lack of a better way to put it, they're going to be kind of lame. But it is all part of it is all part of the plan. It is all baked in together, and it ends up where you save about 40%. Now, this is essentially, if you just do the basic subscription, this is what you're going to get. Space Marines, Tyranids, Chaos Marines, Chaos Marines and World Eaters. So just some generic Chaos and Khorne Marines. You get some Genestealer Cultists, some Orcs, Imperial Guard, or Astra Militarum, or whatever the crap they're calling it this week. The Leagues of Votann, and the Eldar, or Eldari, or however you're supposed to. I'll be honest, I hate some of the new names that Games Workshop has created for these units that just kind of had generic names in the past. I still use the old names. These are Eldar. These are Imperial Guard. Anyways, that's just my rant. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, well, why don't you focus on a particular army? Why wouldn't you get, like in previous years, they did like Space Marines and Necrons. They'd toss in like a few other things just as tasters, but for the most part, you just got Marines and you just got Necrons. So this time they're really mixing it up. Some people have complained where, oh, maybe you're not interested in that, or that's not the faction that you want to play. But for me, I'll be honest, I've gotten away from larger games. It's one of the reasons that I like companies like Mantic or Blood and Plunder or Firelock Games, I guess. Warlord, where typically your games are going to be smaller. They're going to be about combat patrol sized. So this is really right up my alley. And I also like having variety. I like being able to choose different armies at different times to play in different ways. I don't just pick one army and that's all I'm ever going to play. So that was actually one thing that really did speak to me, is getting the variety, getting the options. Even if it takes a while to collect, that's fine. I want to be able to complete all of this project. So that's another thing that I liked, is this subscription model. It's going to send me, say at most a couple of dozen models a month. I should be able to get that finished. I have trouble focusing at times, so I want to break it down. Now, they are also trying to entice you with some bonus gifts. So on the second delivery, you're going to get some clippers and a mold line scraper. On your third delivery, you're going to get a binder, which I'll explain here in a minute. This is actually something that I'm excited about. Yes, it's based on 10th edition rules. Yes, Games Workshop is going to change the rules at some point. But for my purposes, I think this is going to be great, and you're going to see how this kind of works together. I'm actually kind of excited for the binder option, but basically it's a way to save your magazines. On the sixth delivery, they're going to give you a coffee mug. Now, I can't decide, so it's a heat changing mug, so I'm assuming that like this is all black and then you put your hot drink in it and it will reveal the image. But the funny thing is, I'm wondering if this is supposed to be a coffee mug or if this is supposed to be your paint cup. A lot of people will use ceramic mugs for that. So I haven't decided. I'm not a coffee drinker. I don't really need it for a coffee mug, so who knows? We'll see what it ends up being. And then on the 7th delivery, they're going to send you a whole bunch, well, at least 3 Citadel paintbrushes. I'm kind of mixed on that. I realize it's all Citadel tools. This all comes from Games Workshop. It makes perfect sense. I don't necessarily go for Games Workshop tools, but for the purposes of this project, I will at least try them out when I get them. So those are things to look at. Now this is the premium option. So they say right here with issue 15, you're going to get a Brutalis Dreadnought and a Hive Tyrant. Basically to fill out your Space Marine and your Tyranids. With 37, you're going to get a Demon Prince. You can use with both the Black Legion Chaos Marines or the War Leaders, and you're going to get some Howling Banshees for your Eldar. You're going to get some Killicans and Brokir Thunderkin for the Leagues of Votann. Killer Cans are for the Orcs, obviously. Or Oryx, or whatever. They're Orcs! You're going to get a Rogaldorn Battle Tank for your Imperial Guard, and your Brood Coven for the Gene Stealer cults. The magazine does break it down where, how to build the models, how to paint the models, basically just giving you little painting techniques. Gives you fiction to read, information as far as your collection, like little mini scenarios, essentially to teach you how to play. These Battlefield Essential cards are going to be interesting. I think it's mostly, essentially, it's going to be 2-dimensional terrain. I'm totally fine with that, especially for this, where it's supposed to be like introducing people, introducing new concepts, introducing new rules. That's a cheap, easy way to do it, and it works. Does 3D terrain look better? Yes. Are cards functional? Also yes. So I have absolutely no problems with it. Overall, from my understanding, you do save about 40% compared to the retail cost. So I'm not really worried about little cost-saving measures like these. Then, obviously, you get into the first few issues. So issue 1 is the Marine Captain and the Tyranid Prime. Issue 2 is the Von Ryan Leapers. We're going to look at these closer here in a minute. Issue 3 is some Infernus Marines and those terrain cards. Issue 4 is your first bits of paint and a paintbrush. So this is where you start kind of seeing it where it's not necessarily the same kind of value, because it's like, oh, I got paint. But again, these are aimed at newer players. I will admit, I'm not sure if I'm going to use the paint. Come back for future episodes and we'll talk more. Issue 5, you get an Infernus Marine Sergeant that is new and I believe exclusive to this. So, anyhow. So like I said, you subscribe, you get the first 2 issues for free, and then it's going to get an FAQ and stuff. And then every month you're going to get 4 new issues as it goes along. So, why... Well, that is... I'm clicking on all the wrong buttons. All right. We'll get over to the top-down menu, or the top-down camera here in just a second. So I did want to touch on why I'm doing this. Like I said, I thought it would be fun just to work on the project as time goes on. There's supposed to be about 90 issues. So this is going to be a couple of years that I work on the project. But basically, it'll be like one video like this each month. But I'll also be doing live streams where I'm painting, so I'll be working on those. If you've noticed the Gaming with ADHD builds, right now it's just an art piece that's going to be that's up behind me. But if you've noticed those Gaming with ADHD builds shorts, I'm going to just show me building all of the individual models. So all of those are going to be coming up and part of it. So it'll just be kind of fun to see how this all grows over the next, I don't know, 22 weeks? No, 22 months. So yeah, so just shy of 2 years to do all of this. But, you know, I'm excited about it. So let's take a look at these actual, the first two actual issues. All right, so this is issue 1. This is the Space Marine Captain in Terminator armor and the Winged Tyranid Prime. You get one frame of miniatures, which we'll zoom in on here in a couple of minutes. You get the appropriate bases for each of those. And you also start with some dice. Now, these are probably the cheapest and maybe even crappiest dice that you could get. Probably. But I don't think that's a bad thing. Okay? Again, it's cheap. It's easy. But if you notice, well, actually, I hadn't fully shown it yet. But the other thing you're going to get is you're also going to get this. Now, it's paper, but you also get a playmat. Okay? So right now, essentially, they've given you everything that you need to play the game. You have terrain. Overall, this isn't bad. It's sort of like a little... Here, let's zoom in. But it's got kind of like little tyranny bits. We got leaves. It's just a generic battlefield. Is it super fancy? No. Is it quality? Yeah, it's a nice heavy duty paper. Even saving it for later, to play your games on. Cool. You've got some fun battlefield. But also, it's double-sided. So, let me zoom out on this. So, this looks like it's more of like a interior or a factory kind of setting. I would think that all of these boxes are sort of like difficult terrain, but whatever. It's flat. It's fine. But again, it's going to give you something different that you can play on. So they've given you a play surface. They've given you dice. They've given you miniatures from 2 different factions. Okay? Is it going to be the whole army game? No. Is it at least something to get a taste of? Absolutely. But then here is the magazine. Also, they do give you this. It's another type of ad, but it's also, a poster. It's actually kind of a cool poster. But essentially, it's an introduction. This is if you picked it up. Like in the UK, you can pick these up in the store. So, essentially, if you pick up issue 1, this is going to be repeating the magazine. This is going to show all of the different items. It's that picture that we looked at a couple of minutes ago. All of the paint that you're going to get, all the different combat patrols. Again, they've got the build, paint, read, collect, and play. And then, obviously, I can't fit the whole poster in, but you get a giant poster of your Space Marine Captain versus your Tyranid. That's actually a great picture. Fantastic. So, anyways, those are just some extra free goodies in there. Okay, maybe they're not free, but they're relevant. All right, let's take a look at the magazine. Now, this is where I actually think it's done kind of interesting. Okay, actually, first complaint. These binder holes are not very easy in some cases to turn the page. So the pages do kind of stick here. Be careful when you're opening them. You may have to get something to kind of tease it apart because you will tear at these points. And these are already going to be your weak points in the binder anyways. Okay, but one thing I do want to point out is right here, they do separate. Okay, now you're kind of wondering, why am I doing that already? Remember the binders that they're going to send you. Oh, yeah, here we go. So right here, notice that they've got these dividers, which match that build, paint, read, play, collect. So you can actually, they actually show right here. So build the basics, guide 1. Okay. And basically you're going to want to take these apart so you can organize everything. So you're going to have a giant section of how to build all of these miniatures. A reading section for all of the different factions. So you've got 3 pages, one for the Imperium, one for the Space Marines, one for the Tyranids. A collecting section, Space Marines and Tyranids, and then a play section, an introduction to Warhammer 40,000. All right, so how to build, goes through the basics, how to identify part numbers, so that you know what pieces you're looking for, using your clippers, where to clip, like here, there's a little post to join the torso to the arm. So it's like, hey, don't clip that off. You're going to need it. And then, like what things to be aware of, like, since these are, I forget what they call, but they're model clippers. So they've got like the flat edge. It also talks about, what happens if you use the wrong side. So again, very much aimed at new players. I like this. All right, so goes through mold lines, using your glue, and then it has assembly instructions for the models that you just got. So this is all of our build section. Okay, we then have some fiction, something to read. What is the Imperium? Who are the Space Marines? For veterans, you already know all this stuff. For new people, this is a great, issue 1 explanation. Collecting. This I actually thought was fun. So this is starts off Captain in Terminator armor. Space Marine captains lead from the front. Each is a veteran of decades or even centuries of battle, having proven their skill in battle time and time again. Clad in nigh-impregnable Terminator armor, a Space Marine captain commands his troops with skill even as he drives into brutal melee with the deadliest foes. So then they also give you a naming table. Roll a d6. What do you get? They give you a background. So we've got 3 choices. This captain is a veteran of the Tyrannic Wars and seeks personal revenge on the Tyranids, and that's Lucian. Or, this captain is coldly logical, placing each sword blow with calculated precision, Marius. This captain studies his foes carefully and ensures he always knows their weakness, Caius. Now, you could roll once and just use the whole row, or you could roll twice. Get a background, get a name. Fantastic. So put your name down here. What have you... Oh, sorry, I should probably get that in this. They give you a box to actually write down, what your name and the background is. Maybe you want to write your own. That's fine. And I like how they're presenting this. They say, do this. It gives you more buy-in to the army, more buy-in to the particular characters. And then, what have you done? Have you built him? Have you painted him? Have you played a game with him? This is fantastic. It's not just, hey, buy some models. It's, hey, let's walk you through your first steps to the hobby. Okay? So they then give you the data sheet. So these are the particular rules for that particular model. And then they do the same thing with the Tyranid Prime. Just because this is funny. Actually, you know what? These are actually kind of cool. I thought the names were kind of funny. Specimen 45, the Archaven Horror, the Shifting Shadow. But, then the backgrounds. Being in the presence of this Tyranid Prime fills its victims' minds with visions of pure terror. This Tyranid Prime has an uncanny ability to identify and hunt down enemy commanders. The claws of this Tyranid Prime drip with hypertoxic venom. Again, just fun little background. So it's not just, oh, it's a Tyranid Prime. Okay. And then, of course, we get the data sheet. And then we get into playing the game. So obviously everything is color coordinated. So we've got green over here. And core concepts. Mission 1. Well, what's the mission? Well, we've got a Space Marine Captain versus Tyranid Prime. How do you win? Well, the battle ends immediately when one model is slain. Okay, keeps it pretty simple. Forging a narrative. Your roles represent actions made by your model. To deepen your immersion, try imagining what's happening as they fight. Did your captain in Terminator armor simply miss an attack, or was it parried by a slashing claw? Did he merely deflect a blow, or did he dodge out of the way at a key moment? Again, that's the things that I love about a game. What is the story that it's telling? It's not just, I rolled a 6, so I don't get hurt. It's, I rolled a 6 and, dodged out of the way. Or, the Tyranid Prime stumbles as it makes its attack and falls at my character's feet. Whatever it is. Coming up with those stories, that's why we play these games. All right. So then it gives you a mission, kind of walks you through how this works, and then essentially it's going to tell you to, it's going to give you results so you can kind of read the narrative, but then it's going to ask you to do it on your own. So we've got a Tyranid turn, a Space Marine turn, and then, okay, it's done. What happens now? All right. This is also kind of cool because you're supposed to tear this apart, tear this off, cut these out. You've got little wound markers. Cool. Again, another ad for it. And then what's coming next? Issue 2, issue 3. Okay, basically it's going to preview the next 2 issues. So that's number 1. Honestly, I think just this alone, great. Great start. If I was in the store, pick this up, I'd toss it to... Wait, neither my kids nor my grandson, because my kids are too old, my grandson is too young. But if my grandson was older or my kids were younger, I would absolutely grab this, toss it to them. There's plenty for them to get started with. For me, I love it. It is, it's 2 characters. It's 2 cool looking characters, and a nice little bit of introduction. Hey, here's how this is going to work. We're just going to set the models up next to each other, and we're going to start playing. Okay? Great introduction. All right, so that is issue 1. Let's take a quick look at issue 2, because it's going to be a lot of the same, just with some different models. All right, so this is... Oh, actually, you know what? I forgot to look at the models itself. Let's back up. Sorry, folks. All right, so this is the sprue that you get. Okay. Overall, it's broken out. One half is the Space Marine. So we're going to get a sculpted base. The cloak is really good. It's torn. It has holes in it, from being out on the battlefield. Let's be honest. It's a Games Workshop miniature. It's quality. There's really not any question there. Lots and lots of fun details. The Crux Terminatus. There's some Terminator markings on the leg. Sorry, folks, I do have it zoomed in as much as I can get with the camera at this time. And then it's gray on gray, so it does make the contrast a little bit hard. But overall, the details are there. Games Workshop would absolutely sell this model on its own for about $40. Okay. And essentially you're paying $15 for both of these. Even this Tyranid Prime probably would charge you about $40 for it as well. So you've got wings. The wings have a lot of definition to them. They're curved. They're not just these flat pieces. These are all really, really nice pieces. Okay. Again, just for the models alone, the dollar savings is there. It's a loss leader. It's supposed to. Okay. But it's still really cool. All right. Let's check out these Von Ryan Leapers. All right. So first off, let's take a look at the magazine. I should probably zoom out. All right. So as we can see, issue 2 still done. All right. I want to point this out. I was rushing a little bit of tear out here. I'm not as worried because this is just the cover, and that's probably going to end up getting tossed. But just be careful turning the pages on these. So we go right into how to build. Okay. Now this is nice because it's not doing the same rules or same instructions over again. It's talking about identifying the parts, doing test fits before you glue them together. Just make sure, before you fully press them together, because I think you can actually get away with just press fitting these together and not gluing them. That is not what I will do, but whatever. And then going in and using the mold line scraper to actually clean it up. And then we've got instructions on the actual assembly. Now we have our first painting section. So how to paint, base coats, shades, highlights. Your painting journey. Take your time when painting your models. It may be a bit tricky at first, but the more you paint, the better you'll get. This collection has been designed to teach you at a steady pace, ensuring that by the time you're done, you'll have plenty of awesome models to be proud of. That is exactly what I try to, encourage people to do myself. So I like that they're saying that. Again, pages are kind of sticking, so be careful. So essentially, this is just getting started with the painting side. We get more reading side. We've got Imperium page 2, Tyranids page 2, Tyranids page 3. So again, I wonder if you're going to essentially build a codex out, or maybe kind of like a mini codex, I think. Regardless. Then we go to our unit. Again, we've got our table to pick out names and what makes these particular Leapers special. This I think is interesting. So these Von Ryan Leapers have chameleonic skin that allows them to blend in anywhere. That's a painting idea. That's hey, maybe you want to come up with a way to represent this on the model. That's fantastic. The other two, hyper-acute senses allow these Von Ryan Leapers to track their prey wherever they hide, or these Von Ryan Leapers emit haunting cries that sound like wounded warriors to lure their prey. Again, just fun little background to make you think more about the unit. We then get data sheet and more background about Tyranid units. And then we get into our play section, Predator and Prey. So we still only have our one Space Marine, but now it's about how to deal with units that have more than one model. Okay, the Von Ryan Leapers run in units of 3. So how are they going to act differently than just a single Tyranid Prime or a single Space Marine Captain? But again, walk you through the combat and then a little bit of a breakdown afterwards. All right, so that is the magazine, and then for our sprue, so it's a unit. You got parts all over the place. The build instructions talk about what part numbers go with which model, so it's going to break it out together. Otherwise, these are very Tyranidy and look exactly like they should. It's a quality Games Workshop model, as is normal. So, that is issue number 2, the Von Ryan's Leapers. So, that's episode 1. They're supposed to send a new shipment every month, so I'm not exactly sure when the next one is going to come. But once it does, I will do another video. I'll show what I got, and I'll give you my thoughts. Right now, like I said, for a start, for $15 shipped, this is a fantastic deal. I have 0 issues with this. I have 0 complaints. Even as it goes to, the regular price for the rest of the issues, $80 a month is not cheap. I admit that. It may not be for everybody, but it is still a decent savings. I mean, that's essentially like buying, at $80, it's like buying a box of troops. So say like a unit of Space Marines or a box of Termagants or whatever. And then 2 or 3 bottles of paint. Okay? That's not horrible. Okay? Obviously, pay your rent, buy your groceries, do all that stuff first, but it's not. I mean, if you have the money, if you have the money in your hobby, it's not a bad way to do it. So, overall, I'm excited to see where this project goes. I'm definitely going to have some fun building and painting all of these different models. And we're going to see if Brian can stay on task and actually get all of these combat patrols painted by the end of the project. And who knows, maybe my painting skills will get a little bit better. So, with that said, thanks so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think of this subscription model? Is this something that you would do? Is this something that you've done in the past? Did it work out? I don't know. Put your comments in. Let's talk about it. I'm super excited to hear from you. So, hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new here. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.